This is 2005. This was the first Bismarck van called the Cock of the Fleet.
A guy at work had a van for sale for $500, which even in 2002 was pretty cheap.
This van was a piece of shit. I have no idea how it even lasts one tour, let alone two. This was our second tour with this van. Plus, I mean, driving around for shows also. Or even driving it down the block. I don't see how it survived.
It was a 1977 Dodge Tradesman, and the entirety of the interior was metal. So the dash was metal. Everything was metal. It had no climate controls to speak of, really. Yeah, so the dash on this thing, like as I mentioned, the dash is all metal. It's just this sort of metal surface. There's a kind of, just a giant chunk missing in the middle where someone had sort of put a tape deck, with a lot of free space around it. And the horn, it no longer had a horn. That piece had been kind of ripped out, and there was a wire that was kind of dangling from the steering column. So if you wanted to honk, you had to take this wire, and the end had been stripped off, and so you would take this bare wire and ground it to the steering column, and then that would turn on the horn.
We were in Montana, which is a giant state to traverse. We didn't have a show. We had, I think our last show got canceled on us. We were probably going to play Missoula.
Normally that's kind of the home stretch for us because we were able to stay in friendly territory at Chris's family's place, and we're kind of, we crossed the border of North Dakota into the wild zones of eastern Montana, and from there on it's just surviving the boredom pretty much. I think I probably got some Taco John's or some shit.
We had just filled up in Glendive, Montana, and we were making our way. We're making good time, and we came over, there's a hill as you're heading west. There's a hill right before Forsyth, Montana, which is a very small town.
And I think we were coming down a hill, as I recall, and we heard a sort of like pong,
and just horrific dragging sound, like metal just dragging behind the van.
And suddenly Dan goes, "Oh shit!" and you hear a brrrr noise like a tire popped.
It was a metallic thudding noise, and I kind of just, I thought it was a blown tire. But Dan wasn't losing control of the van.
And you just start swerving the van radically to the side of the road, and he starts panicking.
We hear like this metal on concrete, and immediately I'm thinking this is an 80s movie, so there are going to be sparks, because I'm sure this is shooting some amazing like trail of sparks behind us.
And we, earlier in the trip, had found out that the top of our gas tank had a huge hole in it. And essentially it was just a bucket for gas rather than a tank for gas.
So we're coming down this hill and I have no more gas pedal. I can steer and brake, and so I'm kind of trying to just shimmy us to the side of the road, and of course it goes down, right? So trying to get to the side of the road but not flip us into the ditch.
And he finally pulls over and he's making everyone get out because he sees liquid and he smells stuff. And it's like, everyone get out, van's gonna explode, van's gonna explode.
And so we were convinced that this, whatever was dragging, was throwing sparks around, and the whole van was going to explode in some like 80s movie sort of fashion.
I was wedged in the corner, and there was no door. There was no door on my side, so I had to wait for Nate to get out.
And because he came to a stop so fast, the guitars that we had strategically stacked in front of the door had fallen to block my egress out of the door, and it was like, "Get out of the van, Nate, get out of the van!" It's like, somebody put the guitars in my way.
So he was blocked in, plus he had a giant soda in his hand because we just gone to Taco Bell or Taco John's, someplace like that. So he was sitting there going like, no free hands really. I reached over him, opened the door, kind of, not so gently probably, nudged him out, and then I kind of jumped out myself.
I distinctly recall hearing a sort of like whoomph, like backdraft type shit. And so I was pretty convinced the van was on fire. And so I immediately jump out because, again, it's like an 80s movie, so jump out of the driver's side and run around and kind of like, yay, into the ditch.
Woo! And waiting for the van to explode.
And we all jumped out of the van and ducked down on the ground as if like imminent explosion was about to take place.
Well, nothing happened. Okay, well, the car didn't explode. I guess we're fine.
And then sit there for a couple minutes. I didn't check on you guys. Somehow that didn't occur to me. But
And so it turns out it didn't explode. 80s movies lied to us.
and so kind of walk back and like, looking for, again, my backdraft firefighter training was teaching me like, well, sometimes fires hide.
But no, I mean, no explosion, nothing else. And so I just, we kind of get up from the side of the ditch that we're sitting in. And I just kind of walk over the van, open the door, and just grab my tacos. And kind of walk back out. And everyone's like, well, you have to have priorities in these situations. And I figure if we're going to be stuck on the side of a road in Montana, I want my tacos, God damn it.
We later found out that it was the U-joint, the rear U-joint, had given up, and it was dragging its drive line on the ground.
Yeah, that piece that turns the wheels in the back, it's lying on the highway.
Sheared off, broken off, and was just sitting on the road.
So the wheels in the back don't turn anymore.
With, looked like oil or possibly gas leaking out. So we're like, no. That's totaled.
So that was the end of it. We got towed into Billings.
They towed us into the parking lot of a Motel 6 next to some other dingy motel next to some weird adult book emporium and all-night diner.
Dumped the van off kind of in the corner away from everybody else.
And we're there. I mean, that's it. We're stuck. So it's like, okay, well, we just made it to Billings, and of course it's, I think, Sunday. So,
where are we going to find a van on a Sunday? Who's going to fix it on a Sunday? I think at that point we decided, no, we're not going to fix this van. This is a perfect chance to get rid of it, which I think we were planning on doing anyways.
And we figured we would just hang out there, and then the next day we'll just go shopping. We'll go buy a van. It's Montana. It's got to be just fucking chock-a-block full of vans, right? And I was like, I probably can put together $500 more, because that's what vans cost, right? And we went around and looked, and there were some vans and some lots, but they were like, $3,000, which seemed just a princely sum.
So the decision was made to scrap the fucking van, load up the gear into a U-Haul, and drive.
But the U-Haul's only going to have that big-ass bench seat. Three of us are going to be fitting in there. And this isn't Black Flag. We're not going to put one of us in the back. And so we're like, okay, well, one of us has to go just take a Greyhound or something. And so Jury and Nate were like on each other's tits at this point. And so Jury immediately was like, I'll go. I was like, oh, well, okay, well, finding a volunteer wasn't hard.
So I got on a Greyhound to go back to Seattle, and you and Dan and Nate were all going to ride in the U-Haul with all the shit and drive back.
So we go to the place to rent the U-Haul, and they had one that would accommodate us, no problem. And we assumed it would have, one of those big long seats in it, enough for 3 people. But no, it had 2 individual seats. So there's only room for 2 of us.
And then so very quickly we're like, it's you and me, right? It's just you and me? We're doing this? So then we drive back to the motel and we're like, Nate, yo, hey, get out of the shower. Hey, slight change of plans. We got to go get your ass on that Greyhound too.
Nate, you need to, we got to put you on the bus with Chris, right now. And I think we had 20 minutes to get there. And thankfully it wasn't very far away from where we were staying.
And so we just dropped them off at the bus station and sort of like, hey guys, what do I got? See you later. And they kind of drove off. I think we left immediately from there.
And then boom, I was on the Greyhound. I bought a ticket from Billings, Montana to Seattle, Washington.
Nate gets on the bus. We assume everything's okay. Dan and I leave and try to figure out, okay, well now we got to take everything and put it into the U-Haul.
Unbeknownst to me, you dropped Nate off minutes before the bus was about to leave. And I was in my own seat. I had the seat next to me open. I had gotten out my book, gotten some snacks. I was ready for this 24-hour bus ride.
And then we kind of thought afterwards, wouldn't it be funny if Chris was just sitting there?
Oh my God, wouldn't it be fucking hilarious? These 2 guys have been just at each other's throats, Can you imagine if like Chris is sitting there?
You know, in the bus, he had left like a nice seat next to him. Like he'd put his backpack on it to claim it so he doesn't have to sit next to anybody.
Has an empty seat beside him, and he's just like, oh, finally, all these fucking assholes are gone. I can just get some sleep.
Oh, I'm so glad tour's over with. I'll just have this nice long bus ride.
And just ride home. And they're like just about to leave, and he's like, I can't believe it. I'm gonna have a fucking empty seat next to me. How rare is that?
And then we're just thinking, oh, it'd be hilarious if just when he was thinking that,
The door opens up.
Nate walks over and just sits down next to him.
Hey man, how's it going? We're gonna be fucking bus buddies, huh?
He told me later that Nate came up behind him and whispered in his ear,
I'm gonna kill you. And I look up, and it's Nate, who promptly then sits next to me, and we get to ride in a Greyhound together for the next 24 hours. And it was a delight.